Colin. Yeah, he was in Air Force Blues when I first met him. And you were in North Florida, actually, too. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn today, but the reality is I've had facilities in Europe and Canada, Mexico, and the United States in my career. I've had refrigerated, I've had frozen, I've had dry groceries, I've had chemicals, I've had explosives, I've had you name it. So it's a really amazing world. But this is important, as Dr. Poland said, because you need to make sure that you're putting yourself out there in the best possible way you can. So um, LinkedIn is really how you can do that most effectively. Um, let's go. Is this thing working? It's not going forward. I'm using the right one. Oh my God. That's going to be hard. I guess I'll have to stand closer, or I'll give you a hand sign. One of the two. Okay, just introductions and questions. Q&A throughout. You can just ask your questions. LinkedIn, Twitter, and blogs I'm going to talk about a little bit, and then next steps. So go ahead. Next. So how many of you have a Facebook account? Okay. Next. How many of you text every day? Everybody, right? You don't think, oh, you better. Next. Oh, you got it now. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay. How many of you have a LinkedIn account? Oh, great. Hey, I'm speaking to the choir here. You don't need me here. What the heck? How many have a Twitter account? X now. Mhm. Okay. How many have Google Alerts? You ever heard of that? Never heard of, not anybody in the room? Ooh, wow. Talk about those today. So, how many have looked at my LinkedIn before today? Good for you. You get gold stars. No? Mm. Okay. Um, so, social media, really, resistance comes from a lot of corners, right? Social media can be stupid. It can, and so, I can't be bothered for that stuff, okay? That's why I said about X. You got to be careful about X because, and I'll talk about that later. I have too much on my plate to waste my time with social media, although I spend a lot of hours on LinkedIn every day. I don't consider that social media because it's a business account. No, it's getting very political since a certain person came into the White House, but we're working on that. I'm concerned about you sharing too much on social media because I think it's a security question for you. It's really, really, really important. Okay. Um, You don't want to connect with people you don't know. And why do I say that? Because you don't know their background. I mean, you may look at them, but you've got to be careful, okay? If it's somebody in a company that you're interested in, you might want to approach them with a message on LinkedIn, but not necessarily connect with them, okay? Um, Social media is the way of the world in today's world, okay? Um, it's going to working again. There we go. Got to point at the thing. I got to point at the. Okay, these are just the big ones that are in the world. Okay, the top five. You already talked about a couple of them. Um, so, if you're on LinkedIn or if you're on Facebook, you're already in the top, 1%. The most popular business social media is Facebook is used, YouTube. Facebook is mainly used to sell stuff. It's influencers and that sort of thing. My daughter owns her own e-commerce marketing company. And she's Facebook all the time, but that's because that she's selling stuff and people are giving her stuff to sell. It's mostly on the internet. Okay. YouTube obviously is used for it. LinkedIn is a network applications used for business. You can use it for intellectual capital stuff. I do that all the time. I talk to people on LinkedIn about stuff. Twitter is a business for sell stuff again. And texting, well, like Twitter, can be utilized in instant communications, but be professional at all times because people will see things in your texts, even though you may not want them to, because they'll see somebody else, get in a text role and you'll get stuff transferred all over the world. So be careful about that. And blogging utilizes WordPress or some other uses where you can actually put your content out on the world web, okay? So that you can get contact with other people around the globe for your intellectual capital. Okay, I Got to go over here. There we go. So these are just a chart of the, by the way, you've got a PDF of this file, right? And so anybody wants the PDF of this file, you can go ahead and get it so you get all the data. I just cautioned you for one thing. Most of this stuff is confidential copyright kind of information. Don't change it, please. If you take it out, that's why you're only going to get a PDF. All right, then I'll be able to tell if you changed it, but please don't, because all these things you're seeing has got these companies' names on them and stuff, and so it's important. So, big change for LinkedIn is now is only available on the app, not available on the browser anymore. I mean, it's there, but you can't do a damn thing with it, so it's pretty hard to use. So you got to go to your app. All right, pisses me off because I'm a PC guy. Sorry. So one of the things in social media that I talk about is rule number one: don't post a selfie on LinkedIn. Please don't post a selfie. Don't take those two pictures. Which one do you think is the most expected for a recruiter? Duh.
Unless you're modeling.
Well, yeah, right. Unless you're modeling on Facebook or something, then you can use the one on the left. Okay, that's fine. But I know you're right. It depends on what you're after for. But if you're in the supply chain world, I don't think the one on the left is pretty good. So it's basically, from my perspective, is your net worth, right? What you put out there on LinkedIn, what you post every day, or what you respond to, and et cetera, that becomes your handle. That becomes your network to the world, okay? And becomes your net worth. So first thing about social media, you have to figure out a strategy, okay? You got to figure out, what are you going to sharing, what the network is, what you can use the internet with business, or it's communication, or it's marketing, or whatever it is. You got to figure out your strategy. That's why LinkedIn does business communication strategy and all that stuff. You just have to figure out what your strategy is going to be for what you're using it for, okay? And here's a chart that you can use to put your thoughts together. What's my mission going to be? What's my target audience? What are my brand attributes? What's my story? What's my key measurables? And then ideas I can contribute on. So when I go out there, I've done supply chain. So I can talk about inventory control. I can talk about production scheduling. I can talk about freight payment. I can talk about trucking. I can talk about all kinds of things because I've run the whole gamut. I've talked about intermodal. I've talked about, because I've actually paid those freight bills in my career. Okay. And so, and I run buildings that did all that. So, oops, went too fast. So here's just an example of one that they had in a system from this particular person. Gives you an idea of kind of things you might talk about. Okay. So statistics on LinkedIn, it's used all over the world, 300 million members and all that kind of stuff. It's just big, but but you folks are the biggest growing audience in LinkedIn. Okay. And that's why it's doubly important, because your competitors are going to be out there too, okay? Not just you, but your competitors are going to be out there too. This is my LinkedIn page. There's all kinds of stuff across the top, and I'm going to talk about that stuff today. Notifications, I get those all the time, and I go look at every one of them. So when you're doing, keywords are important, just like any other social media. Keywords are important because they get picked up by people all over. People will have actually in their in their profiles to look for keywords, right? And so keywords are important. Things like transportation, or inventory control, or production scheduling, or things like that. Trucking, those are things that are important potentially for you. Participate regularly in group discussions. There are groups, and I'm going to talk about those later. Start performing keyword searches on your own, so you can look for keywords as well in LinkedIn, okay? And connect, if you've got potential customers, obviously looking for, you can look for that too. Make sure that you keep in touch with your profile. Make sure it keeps up to date, the views and top post activity. So I have got people that I follow, obviously, and I've got 7,500 connections on LinkedIn, which is probably way too damn many, but yes.
That you have the premium. Do you typically recommend?
Let's talk to that down the road here. Yeah. That was taken when I had the premium. Right now I have the basic. So it just depends. In your situation, I would say the basic is fine for you right now. Okay. It does give you limitations. Okay. Um, in terms of the number of uh, people you connect with messages versus just asking them to connect, which you shouldn't do. You should always ask them and tell them why. But um, it's can be expensive. You know, it just depends on your financial situation. Okay, premium's obviously better. Okay, obviously better. Um, so let's go, buddy. Okay, so up here in the left-hand corner, those kinds of things. You know, 5 people viewed my profile today. Okay, on this particular day that was done. 350. I had 350. Oops, back up. 351 views on something that I posted. Okay, it tells you that. Um, so you're going to get feedback on the stuff that you do. Okay, these are a little old for me, but they're still good. And so profile page, keep in touch, profile views, your top post activity. So these are the things. This is something that I do every single day. Saturday, Sunday. I'm on vacation in Hawaii next week, a couple weeks from now. I'll be doing this. I look at my network, okay, and there's a catch-up section. And that catch-up section gives you everybody that you're connected with as the #1 connection, whether they've had a job change, a birthday, a work anniversary, or an educational change, every single day, okay? And I do that because I get 7,500 people, and I can't really connect with 7,500 people very often, right? But every day, once or twice or 3 times a year, I'm connecting with them, at least, right? So that's why I do it. So, so every day I do this. So I say, I wish everybody wishing you a very happy birthday, Drew from Feemster. Hope you're able to celebrate your family and friends, in person or virtually. May you experience a healthy 827s down the road of life. You know, cake is no calories again this year. So I, put a GIF on there. Okay. So, so that's why I do it every day, because I want to do belated birthdays, right? I want to do birthdays when the day off, right? I do belated birthdays when I forget or don't have time. So work anniversaries, okay? Every day I keep track of those because it tells me. Wish everyone a happy work anniversary. And so whenever it's come over 10 or 20 or 30 years, I put this last part on here, wow, whatever, right? Because it's a big deal. And I use different captions. And so he's the guy I put on there for everything over 10 years. Okay. Because I think people will recognize that, because that's a big deal. Some others I'll do something like this. So every day I try to keep up with the job changes. Okay. Congratulate them on a promotion. And you have to go back and look sometimes. You have to go back into their network to see if it's just a job change in their company or if it's a change in company. All right. Because you want to change that message. If it's a change in the company, you want to say great promotion, good, you got the big job now or something like that, so that's why I do that. So this first, you got first, second, and third connections. Everybody know that you get first, second, and third connections. And first connections you can interact with both ways. Second connections you can't, necessarily. Third connections are kind of out there. So, Jack, Jack, and Jack is your first degree connection. So, Jack, you're connected on full disclosures and everything, personal data, posting notifications, and everything. Okay. Second one is, Jack, and Jack knows Jill, and Jill is your second connection. So, Jack, Jack knows Jill, and then you got less personal data over here. So you're going to have less capability to get to Jill on a constant basis until you potentially figure out a way. If you want to connect with that person, you got to figure out a way to do that. Go through their profile, figure out how you could wordsmith a connection request into them that makes sense for them to connect with you, because the whole idea is to get this thing to be both ways. All right. And the third one, you basically are out to lunch. You really can't do much with the third connections. You'll find that you're not going to get much activity around third connections, okay? But you may find one out there, and then you got to try to figure out how to get in touch with them. It's not easy. Okay. Unless you're a premium member, then it is easy. That's the one value of the premium is you can get into 1, 2, or 3 connections, right? Because you can send them a connection and you can send a message with the connection telling them why you want to connect if you're a premium, even if they're a second connection or a third connection. So if you get in that situation down the road, you may want to go to that because you may be in a job that requires you to get in touch with people who you really haven't got a prayer of knowing who they are until you go through LinkedIn and you find them, and then you've got the ability to actually send messages to them like you do texts, okay? And that's why that's an advantage. So always connect and be strategic. It's not about it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Business network expansion. Search your connections and your connections, because your connections are probably people that you might know too, because they're in the same kind of business, right? Search the companies that they work for, or search companies like them, okay? Search educational institutions like you attend. I follow UNT, right? I'm on the board at UNT. So I'm on 2 boards at UNT. So I'm on the board of Dallas College too, and doing stuff with them. So, you know, you just got to get in other educational institutions as well. Search fraternal organizations if you're in a sorority or fraternity, or if you're in some other thing like the Lions Club or whatever, they'll have LinkedIn pages, okay? Dallas Regional Chamber of Commerce in Dallas has a LinkedIn page. You can get on it, right? University of North Texas Supply Chain School has a LinkedIn page. You should get on it, okay? Because then you'll get a whole bunch of stuff from your peers here and people like me who will post out there, okay? Um, and then join groups. So I have a group, and you'll see it later, but you can form a group like the group that University of North Texas has. So you can set up a web page and you can do that. So I have a group for my company, okay? And so I also then belong to the supply chain group and a CS Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, which is a professional organization, the Warehousing Education and Research Council, which is a professional organization which I was national president of years ago. And so they will then post things that you will then see on your system if you're following them, okay? So that's why I get the stuff from the University of Texas, because I follow you. Company connections, obviously, coworkers, and any new areas of expertise you find. If you find people out there with new areas of expertise you want to learn about, look at their data, look at their profile, figure out what they do or what they look like on their profile, and you know, you can plagiarize their stuff all you want. I mean, you get ideas, let's put it that way. You shouldn't plagiarize it, but you can get ideas. And then wordsmith it your own words. Because that's one thing you're going to see is that people are going to realize down the road, that doesn't sound like that person. That sounds like they picked it out of some book or something, you know? No, they'll get you on it. Yeah.
Got it. And I'm just wondering, I mean, I don't know if it's resume kind of like similar where you're not supposed to use first person. But it just seems extremely formal, which, you know, should be expected for a business LinkedIn page.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big difference. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Um, and on the job searches, this one's a big, because you may be connecting with recruiters, okay? And you may or may not want to do that, okay? It's better off if you go after companies rather than go after recruiters, in my opinion, okay? They can get your information and they can market you all over the world, and you can't control it. So you have to be very careful with recruiters, okay? You need to make sure that they're representing a company that you're interested in, and always ask that question, okay? So now, so one of the things you want to do potentially is also longtime member of CSCMP, frequently recorded in the Journal of Commerce, you know, other things you might want to put in there, okay? Because I think that's going to give you, especially if you do stuff like that, because the Journal of Commerce is a big deal, okay? So I get quoted in the Journal of Commerce, that's a big deal. I get, I've been a member of Council of Supply Chain Management since before you were all born, and it's Council of Work where you're all born. So, and the president of that one. So those things become important to the people in this business, okay? Especially those two things, right? So check out the people you want to request a connection to. You go out there and look for them, okay? Somebody that is around here. And so she's working for Lockheed Martin. So you see her up there, and then you find her page, and then you want to connect. So you go out there to connect. And then she comes back and says, okay, yeah, I want to connect. That's her page. She's VP over at Lockheed Martin now. Here's all the people she has and the companies and stuff like that. You can go look at it. Come on. Yeah, universities where they went to school, where she went to school, which is here, I think. Can't remember now. And how you're connected. So here's North Texas, okay? I have 71 first degree connections that are actually also in the UNT one, okay? And I have 1,863 second connections that are all in here. So there's a good place that I could go look for if I wanted to get somebody as a first connection, okay? Because they're already here in this group, right? And then notables, what did I do there? Okay, so there's some of your notables. These are people that are on the board, of course, here at North Texas. And, those are, talked to them about a job one time, Crane Worldwide. Didn't take it, but anyway, that gives you an idea where when I got this search, it came up with 120,000 results. On this page. So this page is going to get this by inbox. Well, it didn't look like that anymore. Search your inbox. People, you can look for people, jobs, companies, groups, universities. That's if you're premium. Okay, all that stuff you can look for. Some of it you can't look for if you're just a secondary. Okay. Again, you have to make that decision. Groups is the one thing I wanted to talk about here. So you still go in the inbox and you go look for a loop, global logistics and real estate. That's mine. Okay. So anytime that I post something, it posts in that group. So everybody in that group gets to see it if they read their notifications. Okay. I'm in these others. I'm not in some of these others, but so here you go. Research group before you whether you want to try to join. These are postings that I've had in some of the Journal of Commerce one and others. I want to go. There we go. So this will tell you some of the members that you're already connected to that are in that group. So you can pop right up to them. Okay. Yes, question. Yes. Sorry.
Talk about, I guess, groups, benefits of creating your own group. Maybe we can create a group of students or peer-led groups for college students or professional groups that may be available on LinkedIn. Maybe some that is like approval-based groups.
Well, many times you have the idea, you have the opportunity when you make a group to require approval or not to get into it. Mine requires approval to get into it. So people have to request me to get into my group, and then I approve them or I don't. If they're a recruiter from China, I don't allow them to get into because I don't want them to see all my people in my group. See, so that's a very good question though. So when you set up a group, you have to determine if you want to approve people to get in or you want to just let anybody get in. Okay, I would suggest you in the beginning try to approve people to get in because then you just have to keep up with it. Because as soon as somebody asks you, you'll get a ping. Okay, you just have to answer it. Yes or no, and determine why you said yes or no. Okay.
would anybody that's reviewing our profile happen to look at groups we're involved in, or would that be information that's accessible to them?
Probably not unless they're a super premium. They may be able to search you in groups. I don't know. I can't answer that question legitimately. Okay. But I would guess maybe they could if they're at the high end, but I don't know how much, how big the higher there's a higher group than paid. It's like I can't even remember what it's called. But it's the top end. Recruiters can get into that and they can find a ton of stuff. And I don't know what it all is, but that's why I say be careful about recruiters. Okay. So here's your UNT group page. Okay. So you know it's there. And you can join up to 50 groups. I think you can still join 50 groups even if I can't remember now. I don't know. I'm in all these groups and before, well, I was premium, so I'm still in them. They didn't kick me out. So, but these are the kinds of things that I'm in. Okay. So it'll tell you where you are. Okay. So if you join a group in logistics, you got 11,000 of them that you can join. So there's a whole lot. Okay. You probably want to narrow it down to something else. Okay. So there's the ones that I'm joining. So now let's talk about the rest of this stuff. Companies. I think if you're looking for a specific industry or if you're looking for a specific type of company, you should try to investigate companies and try to figure out what they have to offer by just going into LinkedIn. They almost always have a LinkedIn profile. Okay. You can obviously look them on the web too and look at their balance sheets and if they're a public company, but it's good to look at groups. Oops, there's the BNSF Railroad. Okay, I've done work with them, and so I joined this group. Okay, and they post stuff out there. And that's why you want to see it because they'll post stuff up on there, and then you'll see it on your feed, and they'll talk about it as you follow that group. Okay, so. Basic plan is free. This is where we're getting to it. Basic plan is free. You reconnect with colleagues and classmates, request and provide recommendations, search and view profiles, receive unlimited in-mail messages, and up to 3 searches you get weekly. You can save up to 3 searches and get weekly alerts for those things. Yes.
You can see it.
Huh?
I can see it. The groups are associated.
Can you? Okay. There's a whole bunch. I didn't know. So here's your plans. Good question earlier, but I got to it. Here's your plans. This is the recruiter. Sales Navigator's the big one. That's $1,000 a year. Okay. This one's you can usually get a deal on this one on the business page. But because they'll have specials sometimes. You get half price for the first 6 months or something like that, and then it goes up to price. You know how that goes. Pay for ups and extras. Okay. For the discussion tabs, discussion is not a sales pitch, in my opinion. Some people put a sales pitch out for discussion, but I don't do that. It's a request to the network typically, and it's not a request to the network for plea for employment. So don't do that because recruiters will pick that up. They'll see that you're out there posting, that you want a job, you want a job, you want a job, when you're not really connected with the company. Okay. So make sure that you stay away from that. It's not a sales pitch. You go to the promotions tab if you want that. And don't join a group if you're not going to participate. So, is my profile important? Okay. So, I believe it is. Because Kirsty is a rock star. Okay. Um, and oops, went too fast. So, plus I can put a face to the name. Always put your picture out there because then you can put a face to the name. My problem is I'm a fast forgetter, not a slow learner. So I do not remember names. It's mental. I don't know. It happened since I was a kid. I remember faces. I know your name, but I just don't know it. So that jogs my memory every time I see them. Then I can look at their name, and that makes it a lot better over time because then I'll remember their name. So um, she gives a clear description of her accomplishments. Okay, she's been an intern, she's been a student web developer, she's got a whole lot more, and she can't see them, but she did a good job of doing that. And former manager, she's gotten great recommendations. She puts that up there on that thing. That's why it's important. And so ultimately, whether you got Grace or Christy, who do you want to pick, right? Christy isn't more qualified than Grace necessarily, but Christine is looking for a sales position. Okay. And so she may be the right person for whoever was looking for it. Okay. Anyway. Oh, come on, let's go. We'll get back there. Okay, so Twitter is promotional marketing, personal site. Recruiters will search website for your name. That's why I told you to be careful on Twitter because they will search your the Twitter for your name. And if you respond to things on Twitter, they will see them. So that's what you got to watch out about Twitter because it's much more political than LinkedIn is. Okay. And that can be a problem. But anyway, they're both big, but they're different reasons that they're big, okay? Still ranks among the top performers, clocking, all kind of average users, 15 hours a month. Crazy. So here's the power of Twitter that does all these things, Marketers generate leads and close deals successfully. They avoid sales-driven messages. They create hashtags to follow conversations, okay? Advanced search, do all that stuff. So my Twitter page is pretty dull. I use it a little bit, but not much. Mainly to follow some people on Twitter. Peter Zehan. Never heard of Peter Zehan? I'll write that name down. Peter Zehan. Zeihan. He's a political pundit. Really, really smart. And relatively apolitical until who got in office, but less now. But really, really smart, and he talks about things going on in the world and in the United States and why those are important. But he does it from a whole different perspective than most people. He does it really based on obviously really hard data because he has this giant research company that he runs, and it's all kinds of data. But he bases it on demographics and incomes and all kinds of different data rather than his feelings. So that's why I like him because I'm a math guy. I'm a math major, sorry. But that's why I like him. Anyway, so when you search results for news, I search results for logistics, and so you get a whole bunch of them, right? Logistics is a broad term, obviously. But if you want to focus on something different, that's fine. You don't have to focus on logistics. You can focus on something else, architecture, or whatever you want. But it's important. So some tips, Justin Bieber is not a business target contact. If you want to tweet stuff, set up a second account. Keep it professional. Your handle is your photo. It's really important, in my opinion, because that's especially that stuff that you post out there. It's going to get seen by recruiters, and they can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Consistently post content that is relevant to your target audience. This means every week, multiple times. Don't forget LinkedIn group postings. That's the other thing. You can join a group, but you should try to interact with it at least every so often, okay? Because if you don't interact with it, then you're going to get kind of fall off the radar screen for a lot of people because they're not seeing your name. They're not seeing your name. Establish meaning two-way relationships with your followers, retweet their tweets, respond to their tweets, that sort of thing. You do that with your texts, don't you? I mean, right? Do it with your tweets, do it with your LinkedIn's. So you get somebody to post something on LinkedIn, like I've done work with people all over the world, but and still, so I'm still knowing people in Europe, and so they'll post something out there, and I'll repost it because it goes to all my people, and they don't have access to all my people. So that's 7,500 people, most of them in the United States, that they probably never showed that data to. So I'm passing their word along. That's how you network with people around the world, is you have to pass along things for them so they will do something for you, right? And they'll learn, they'll know it. Now, trust me, that they know it. So I keep getting called back at the Dallas Chamber to do stuff for them because I keep posting their stuff and I keep pushing it out there. And participate in larger Twitter community based on keyword searches and keyword research. Okay. So the World Press is out there. I guess I've got a World Press site. I probably do, but I haven't used it forever. But if you do stuff, if you generate data, if you generate information, even if you do it for the university, okay, get their permission so that you could post it too. Okay, you do that first. Okay, you make sure they ask, right? Because you're doing the information for them. Okay, and they kind of own that data, even though you did it, right? Same like a company owns the data. If you're working for a company, they own it, you don't. Okay, so be careful about that. 5 minutes, okay. So these are the biggest blogging and publishing platforms around the world. Only got a couple of slides. That's the place where I used to work. So I get Google alerts for mental logistics. I used to work for them. So I got to set up Google alerts so I can see what they do still. So I keep up with them. Oops, back up. So make sure your brand awareness, will drive more traffic, create buzz and excitement around the new products and services if you've got those, or even just around what you're doing, right? If you go to a company tour, and you get to go through the company, you should post that back on there and say, we had a great job, you did a great job, we got to meet all these people and we got to see all this stuff. And so, it'll get you cred. That's what my network looks like. It's all over the world, but it's big. So there's a bibliography for you at the end, and there's my data, and that's it. Very good. Couple of questions? Another question?
Then I had a lot of issues with recruiters for direct sales positions and mostly just advertising and spam there. How do you wade through that and prevent your feed from just being filled with spam?
Well, you have to block them. You can block them.
Well, if it's over 100, how you block that many when
You block each one of them when you send you something. You block them.
Filters out in a few days.
Yeah. It filters out. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
there's so much AI stuff.
I know.
Well, I know you got to block them. And people connect with me, and I don't have a gosh darn clue who the hell they are and why they would do that, and I just block them. If they put crap on LinkedIn that I don't like, I block them. End of story. You just block them, and so then they can't get in. They can't get into your feed anymore. Okay, so
please tell us more how to use Google Alerts in the field and what has been helpful.
I use Google Alerts in my, you asked me what I use Google Alerts for. I ask Google Alerts for things like, things that I'm interested in. If I'm doing a study on something, I'll ask, what's going on in Baltimore, Maryland or something, what new companies are coming into town or whatever, something like that. Okay. And I'll do something like that. Yes.
Do you think it's better to like make it detail oriented, make it as detailed as possible, or kind of try to keep it short?
Well, I think you should put in there as much as you think is important for you, okay? And expound upon that when you get an interest from a recruiter. So you can expand on that, okay? I only put this in my LinkedIn profile, but I've done this, and this too. Okay.
So if I wanted to like relocate to a different city.
Yeah.
right, To like Denver or something.
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah.
What's the best way to use LinkedIn or whatever to find a network where I can find a job over there? Relocate.
Well, you can put in jobs in Denver, okay, or something like that, or you can follow the Denver Economic Development Commission.
So.
Okay.
So really good.
Groups are good.
To find people who are in that.
Right. And the Denver EDC they'll be on LinkedIn and you can follow them. Okay. And then they will post you when they have announcements of new companies coming into town. And they'll post all kinds of collateral on them. Okay. So that's a good question. Yes.
Oh, yeah, so I'm thinking about that. For us as students, if we're joining like maybe a commerce group or economic development, how can we really add value to that group if we're really just here?
You can follow them.
Yeah.
And so you'll get the information as soon as when they post stuff.
Follow, don't join.
Yeah, right.
But like follow
Follow that company, that LinkedIn company.
it or
Follow them on
something
LinkedIn.
about contributing to.
Yeah.
Oh, if you join a group, then you got to contribute. But you can follow the group and then not join.
Joining, contributing, how making posts or like react, like.
You react to things that are posted there.
I see.
Yeah. Okay, good question. Anything else? I'm around if you want to talk to me, so afterward. You're welcome.
So I didn't really know you were like going